Welcome in. It is week 2 of the college football season. What a week 1 it was. Welcome into the Merrifield Sportsbook Show with Justin Walsh, Jay DeCoster, Matt Merrifield. As always, I'm Nick Burt. What a week, guys. Jay Walsh, go to you first. I know you're in the middle of a fantasy draft right now because you thought it started an hour ago, but it actually starts like right now. What are the vibes right now?
We're having a good time. I had the third pick and somebody passed on Bijan Robinson, so I was able to snag Bijan at the number 3 overall pick. So we're feeling pretty good to start.
I mean, that's a pretty good drop to 3. Can't complain about that at all. Jay DeCoster, how are you feeling tonight before we get to our first segment of the night, which may or may not have been specifically delegated to you, even though it very much applies to all of us?
I mean, I went for a run like a half hour ago. I opened up the show sheet and I said, oh boy, I can't wait to get flamed this entire show. I mean, what are you going to do? We do a gambling show. I mean, I had to throw something out there and it didn't work. So I'm going to be like Tim Tebow, just come crying in a press conference and say, I will be better for this. And I am truly very sorry. So there we go. So for the tens of you who bet Army, I'm so deeply very sorry. Who lost outright to Tarleton State.
Thank you, Jay.
Not Charleston Southern.
Not Charleston Southern, Tarleton State. Matt Merrifield, you just got off the golf course. How are you feeling on this Wednesday evening?
I mean, I'm great. I wouldn't mind just getting right into where we were right and where we were wrong, even though going to Jay before me kind of stole a little bit of the thunder. But I have to hammer this home. I was wrong, and I can't wait to hammer myself more. So, it's not really hammering myself because we'll get to it. But anyways, golf was fantastic. 2 thumbs up because it was raining and like 50 degrees. And I played for a 4-man scramble that we were getting pushed by groups behind us. So, but anywho, let's get into it. Where we were right, where we were wrong.
I agree. Let's just get straight into it. Where we were right, where we were wrong. Matt, do you want me to just go to you first and you take over here?
Please. Thank you. Please and thank you. Where I was right, Utah being very good and UCLA also being terrible at the same time. That game wasn't even close. For those of you that were up at 11 p.m. on Saturday and got to watch the Devin Dampier coming out party, and Nico I is just as terrible. UCLA is exactly what we thought they were, which is not very good. And we know that Michigan State has a win on homecoming this football season, hopefully. Where I was wrong, I was not wrong in my statement last week about good SEC teams versus bad football teams. That was right, because the 2 good SEC teams I bet both covered. Unfortunately, I applied the rule to a team I thought was good and can't tackle a 90-year-old woman. What was that? I'm not going to go as far and clickbait like certain on-air personalities are with this Alabama football team and narratives that are clearly just to get people to post their thumbnail across Twitter and X. But wow, Kalen DeBoer has a lot of work to do before he gets put on government cheese. And Kalen, as somebody who is a public policy major, the government cheese in Alabama is not great. So you're going to have to move back to the West Coast if you get fired, pal. It was horrific. I didn't even watch half the game, but you losing to a quarterback who completes 9 passes, it was just unacceptable. I don't even know if Florida State's good. Is Florida State good, or is Alabama just that bad? I think it's a mixture of both. Well, I guess we'll find out. Jay, what the hell? I know you already apologized for it, but dude, back to where I was right. I tried to tell you. I tried to not. They should have played Charleston Southern. They had a better shot in that game than Tarleton State.
I don't know.
I don't want to beat you too bad. You were Jay Johnson running a short side counter on third and 8. And everybody knew what was going to happen. It was 4th and goal at the 1, and you lined up in the shotgun.
You got way too cute.
You got way too cute, but it's okay. It's week 1. We're going to learn from it. We're going to move on. You had you had at least one pick, right? Correct.
I had Utah.
Okay. See, you were on the right path. You saw something and you just took it. You took the free money that was there. You'll be better next week. You'll be better this week. I believe in you. I love you, Jay. I can't wait to see you next week in Chi-Town.
Yes.
2 shows from now, we're going to have to just debrief my birthday weekend in Chicago with JDC. But either way, I'm sorry, Jay, but man, I tried to tell you. Let's move on. I'm done. I'm gonna shut up for a few minutes.
All right.
Jay, we'll just go to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it again. I mean, taking Army, I don't know. The troops aren't good this year, and Navy's the better team. So that's that. I'm done talking military academy football. But yeah, no, Utah was the easiest one because I think the biggest loser in all this is Nico I, who decided, yeah, I'm going to leave Tennessee, where I'm making more money. I'm playing in front of 100,000 loyal fans, one of the best SEC atmospheres, and I'm going to go to the Rose Bowl for less money and, listen to my dad as well, who's involved in that. That guy's a complete fraud, and he's also not very good. So UCLA is not good. And, yeah, I mean, Utah's they put the B2A on them. Let's say that. So there we go.
Incredible. Jay Walsh, will go with you next here. Where you were right and where you were wrong.
So in terms of where I was right, I was going to potentially highlight Fresno State just absolutely beating the brakes off of Georgia Southern. I like that game a lot. I talked about it last week, Georgia Southern having to go across the country. I knew that game was not going to go well for them. Rather than talk about that one, I'm going to go with Tulane just absolutely mollywhopping Northwestern. Game I talked about last week, I really like Tulane. I predicted them as the best group of 5 team this year. Obviously remains to be seen how valuable that win is to them we don't know what Northwestern is going to be this year. However, I did not find this out until after our show concluded, but if I had known beforehand that Northwestern had denied Tulane the opportunity to wear the all-white uniforms to commemorate basically Hurricane Katrina, I would have bet literally my life savings on Tulane covering that football game. So, I mean, there just is no better example of karma in college football than what transpired in that game. So that I will take as my where I was right. Where I was wrong, there is a pretty clear example here. I could go with picking Clemson over LSU. I will hand up, say, Garrett Nussmeier, you looked very good in that game. You might be the guy. We'll see. You got a tough schedule going through, but you played well in that game. Where I was wrong was clearly thinking that North Carolina was going to be a competent football team. I had them covering that game. I had them winning it outright against TCU, and they just absolutely got obliterated. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. It'll be interesting to see if Belichick can get his guys right for the rest of the season. But based on the performance week 1, I am not liking my over 7.5 wins pick for them this year. Even though their schedule remains a joke. If they play like they did in week 1, I don't see how they can possibly get to that number.
All right. I guess where I was right this week, it's not really anywhere. I was right that Arch Manning is going to be a Browns quarterback. He looked the part on Saturday. I get it was his first road game, but he very much looked the part of a very mediocre Browns quarterback. I'd put him somewhere between Charlie Fry and Spurgeon Wynn, probably. get those two names out of the vault. Where I was wrong, everywhere else, a 1-4 week. That was just dreadful. Turns out betting against Oregon at Autzen Stadium against an FCS opponent, probably not the best of ideas. Betting on an Alabama team that clearly does not seem good, bad idea. Cincinnati, that game was just dreadful. But somehow Nebraska didn't cover. Bad idea. And somehow Arizona State didn't cover. And they kept that game a little bit too close. So I was wrong there. And I will get on the train with Jay here. I will apologize about the troops because I had them as my G5 playoff team in the preseason. And I was told not to take them and that there's a better service academy. And I said, no, I'm rolling with Army. Yeah, that was a disaster. Just absolute disaster. But only idiots will double down on their picks. So we'll just leave it at that. So
Nick, we both combined have to apologize to friend of the program, Allie Cohen, for our horrific gambling advice between Friday night and Saturday morning. For those that don't know, or that obviously nobody else would know besides me and Nick, on Friday, a lot of free bets, a lot of stuff being thrown around. So I made some picks for Allie for the Michigan State game, in game, and the player props, and we took the spread and the over. Over didn't even have a shot in hell. Actually, State didn't even cover. Didn't matter. In game, I told Nick Marsh over 4.5 receptions. That hit. Needed State to win money line, and then needed Aiden Childs to have over 26.5 rushing yards. He had 26 rushing yards on one carry and still didn't get to the over because both tackles went to sleep in the second half. And then Nick gave maybe the worst soccer tennis parlay of all time with Francis Tiafoe in the U.S. Open. Gave the bet mid-match, and
who was already down a set. He was already down a set when I made the bet too.
Did Tottenham at least win?
No, they lost 1-0.
Yes, the second leg was Tottenham. And then finally, one of those bets that was placed, one of the $5 bets, was a free bet. So because any of them lost, Allie got it back. Saturday morning, she asked me, what should I place it on? I said, put it on Alabama, which wasn't even my lock of the week. But I told her, I go, that's a game you might watch. Put it on Bama. There's no way. So Nick and I both have to apologize for probably think combined $30, $25 that Allie Cohen's FanDuel account that she won't open till the Super Bowl is now down. That's it. I will not apologize for Baylor. I have more on them later. Let's move on to some of those. Let's move on to the slate, Nick.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to this slate with how bad it is? That is the real question. We will move on to it anyways. We got 2 games on the sheet, and honestly, this one probably could have been left off. We'll still talk about it, but Boston College traveling to the Coliseum, not the real Coliseum, the Coliseum that is Spartan Stadium, to face off against the Michigan State Spartans. Michigan State is a 4.5-point favorite. This is going to be a 7:30 kickoff on NBC. It gets weird at Spartan Stadium at night. I don't know if people actually say that, but it does get weird at points. Jay DeCoster, I'll go to you first on this one. Your overall thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I really don't know what to think of both these teams. I mean, obviously, Tommy Castellanos is at Florida State. They brought in Dylan Longerin, I think his name is, the new quarterback for them. They have a bunch of new players. They lost to Nebraska in the bowl game last year. But I don't know. I mean, as far as Michigan State standards go, I mean, you got to win this game if you're gonna do something this season. You get to 7 or 6 wins because we all know the rest of the schedule's pretty tough. You got Penn State and all those guys. I really did. Yeah, as far as Michigan State, they looked. I mean, they looked really good in the first two halves. Really good in the first half, bad in the second half. Defense looked really good. I like what Joe Rossi's group showed. Linebackers looked really good. So I think for this game, I would probably lean MSU in this spot. It's a 4.5 point spread. I would feel comfortable laying the 4.5 here. It's at home and they want revenge from last year. I'd have a tough time believing that BC would sweep this home and home series. So I do like MSU to win this spot. I would probably lean the under. I think MSU wants to lean more on the ground game in this one, as well as their defense, which looks like I said, it's Western, so it's kind of the appetizer where you're going to get this Saturday. But their defense was flying all over the place, so I like what I saw from the defense. So I would lean the under in this spot.
Matt, we'll go to you next. Obviously, we were both in attendance on Friday for that opening game against Western Michigan. What did you see on Friday, and what are your hopes for this weekend?
Well, I saw in the first half a 8-9 win football team for Michigan State, and I know it's Western Michigan, but they controlled both sides of the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball super effectively. Now, I know the offense was very vanilla, but there were still a couple plays where I was impressed with the play calling and just the ability of, you could see the weapons that Michigan State does have. Jack Velling's only catch was for 3 yards, but it was if I remember correctly, they put him out in motion, and it was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, and they ran a little screen pass to him, getting him out in space, and I loved it. It was like the second drive of the game. And I didn't know why they never got him the ball the rest of the game. Second half was terrible. I know they were shuffling the offensive line a little bit. The transfer from Montana State, Connor Moore, I believe his name is, was bad. He was not good. He made the DN from Western Michigan look like Micah Parsons. So from that standpoint, that wasn't good to see. But in the first half, I really liked what I saw. Omari Kelly, I think, is going to be a very good wide receiver. He looked a lot like Jaden Reed out there, just in terms of build and size, and it helps that they both wear number 1 for the green and white. And I'm glad to see that this weekend, the press conferences with Jonathan Smith, he wants to see his weapons get the ball more. He wants to see Nick Marsh more involved. Who 3 of his 5 catches came in a row in the third quarter. Omari Kelly was effective in the first half. The part of the problem was they didn't protect Aiden Childs good enough. I thought Childs made some nice throws. A lot of those outs to the far side of the field, from throwing from the left hash to the right sideline, being able to throw those out, that's not an easy throw. So the fact that he was still able to make those throws on time and connect, it just now using the weapons. I know last week the very vanilla offense, just kind of running the ball, getting the hell out of there without showing too much. But this week I expect them to show a lot more, flash the passing game a little bit. On the BC side, I know Lonergan was beat up, but he was back at practice today in full, from what I believe. And take BC student coverage from Twitter that I just read before the show started, said he didn't skip a beat. Now, what does this voice of Boston College women's hockey know? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out on Saturday what not missing a beat is. I know BC struggled to protect him against Fordham's pass rush. So we'll see what Michigan State's linebacker room, which is what impressed me the most on Friday night, looked. See what they can create, Jordan Hall. But 4.5, I feel like we're going to look back on this line and we're either going to be like, yeah, I was right and State lost. Like, I don't think if State covers, they're going to blow them out. I don't see this. It's either going to be a close game, or it's either going to be a BC wins close, or State blows them out. And we're going to look back on it and be like, why was the spread only 3.5, 4.5 points? So I guess I'm going to lean and give Jonathan Smith the benefit of the doubt, because if I don't, then I'm saying that they're going to lose. And if State loses this game, Jonathan Smith will be fired by November 1st. So that's where we're at as a Spartan program at the moment. So State needs to win this game. I hate using the word program defining, because that seems sad for a team that a decade ago was playing in the college football playoff and 4 years ago was in a New Year's Six bowl. But man, you have to have this one. Otherwise, it's another 2-3 years down the drain, another 2-3 years of rebuilding with who the hell knows? The boosters are going to go and want. It might be Urban Meyer. Maybe that train gets steamrolling again in 48 hours.
All right. I got two things before I get to you, Jay Walsh, because Matt brought it up. First one, since you just mentioned Urban Meyer, potentially Michigan State donors might be interested in somebody that might have residence in Tuscaloosa, Alabama right now, might help out the program with that $70 million buyout, hopefully. Okay, second question, because Matt, you were there, so I'm not going to ask you, and you brought up the playoffs. Jay Walsh, Jay DeCoster. If Michigan State were to put up a sign in Spartan Stadium that said like college football playoff participant, what year would you put on that? Like, obviously they made the playoff, but would it say 2015 or 2016 college football playoff participant?
I would go 2016 because, well, that, what are you laughing at? That was the year that was.
I'm laughing at Nick, not at you, Jay.
Okay, all right. All right. Now I would say 2016 because, obviously, for the national championship, I know it's not the play. I mean, it is the playoff, but for the national championship for 2026, they're going to put the 2026 patch on the jersey. So I would classify that as 2016. So
I would probably end up leaning the same way. I don't like it because I would refer to it as 2015 because it was the 2015 season. But in terms of like a sign going up in Spartan Stadium, I would say they probably would go with 2016 just because that's when the game happened. First of all, they should never put that sign up because I don't even know that we could qualify what we did as participation. But if they were to put one, I believe they would go 2016. I wouldn't necessarily agree with it, but I think they would.
I want it on the record that game was close at halftime. The third quarter.
Oh, 100%. If Connor Cook doesn't throw that interception.
Let's not act like.
If Connor Cook doesn't throw that interception before halftime, it's probably a 10-7 game at half.
Yeah. Connor Cook sold the bag. Yeah, quick thing I have about 2015 football, because I've thought it for a long time. I've never got the chance to say it. I don't buy a word of Connor Cook's injury because he got hurt against Maryland. He missed Ohio State. Okay, fine. He was incredible against Penn State on senior day. He threw for like 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then against Iowa the next week, you would have thought they had just re-sewed his arm on. And then 3 weeks later in the Cotton Bowl, he couldn't complete a forward pass, and the offense had no shot. I'm just saying, I don't buy a single word. What the hell did they do to his shoulder between the Penn State game and the Iowa game? Because it seemed to be fixed. Anyways, I don't even know where we go from this, Nick. Nick, I agreed with you. It should have said 2015. It's Michigan State. They have fireworks now. They can do whatever the hell they want. I feel like we would have noticed this before, this came up now when we both went to school there for 4 years and went to football games for 4 years. I don't know. But anyways, I digress.
I don't think they ever put it up. That's why. I was so baffled by it saying 2016 college football playoff participant when A, we went 3-9 in 2016, and B, the game didn't even happen in 2016. It happened on New Year's Eve of 2015. So theoretically, it should still be the 2015 college football playoff participant. That's the end of. Yes,
I have a follow-up question. Nothing to do with the playoff. Better 3-9 football team: 2021 Nebraska or 2016 Michigan State?
it's Nebraska. Nebraska lost like every close. Oh my God, they won.
So did Michigan State.
Michigan State was
Michigan
just
State almost beat Ohio State.
Injuries.
That is true.
That Michigan State team was not 3-9 bad. They were also one of 3 teams to shut out Rutgers that year. Ohio State and Michigan were the only other 2.
Nebraska just choked away like the Michigan game, the Michigan State game, Michigan 2016. They were in it for like the first half, and I can't remember the score. It was like 16-0. What was it?
What'd you say? I don't know.
No, the Michigan, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying Nebraska choked away so many more games that obviously the Jane Reed punt return. We're getting off the rails. I'm just saying, like, Nebraska should have won the least. They should have been like an 8-4 team.
Michigan State lost that year. Shut up. They played BYU at home that year. People forget. Which, by the way, does anybody know, after Notre Dame, we have Notre Dame coming up next year and the year after, the only other Power 5 team Michigan State has scheduled through the next 10 years is BYU in like 2031.
And do you know what that's part of, Matt? That was part of the original home and home with that 2016
it got canceled
game.
Because of COVID.
Yes.
Because we were supposed to go back. Yes, in 2020, we were supposed to go. Miami was supposed to come here, and we were supposed to go to BYU. That would have been one hell of a football season with Rocky Lombardi and Mel Tucker. I don't even know. Let's move on to the actual big game. We're just gonna stop there.
I never got to talk about this one, but okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jay Walsh, go ahead.
All right, I guess I'll try to get through this fairly quickly because apparently we're eager to go on to the other game. But this is a game that's going to be really difficult to predict because you don't know what either of these two teams are. Obviously, I mean, MSU played against Western Michigan, showed flashes of playing very well, and showed flashes of playing really, really not well. Overall, I think, obviously, I mean, the defense looked great in that game. Could be that Western Michigan's offense is just that inept, but I think MSU's defense is going to be a little bit better than people thought they were going to be this year. The thing that kind of gets me is, even though obviously Boston College just absolutely demolished Fordham, which realistically they should, they had absolutely no running game against an FCS school. I mean, we're talking didn't total 100 yards, and they averaged like not even really close to 3 yards per carry. They averaged 2.6 yards per carry on 38 attempts. Their leading rusher had 48 yards on 16 attempts on the ground. So I think there's a very decent chance this MSU defense shuts Boston College down. Obviously, I mean, the quarterbacking in that game for Boston College was good, but against a very, very subpar team. So it would not surprise me if MSU didn't give up more than like 14 to 17 points in this game. I will lean MSU here with the 4.5 because I do think, obviously, I mean, we saw the ups and downs from the offense. They have the talent to play at a very high level, and they showed that in the first half. If we get anything close to what we saw in the first half, I think MSU runs away with this game. Even if they don't play that way, I think the defense is going to keep them in it, and I think they could still win this game by a touchdown. I'm going MSU minus 4.5 here.
That was incredible, Jay Walsh. I thought you were trying to still weigh in on the 3-9 debate. We'll move on to the other game on our sheet. It's going to be at the same time, just on a different network. It's a classic SEC Big Ten battle. It's Oklahoma hosting Michigan. Oklahoma is a 5.5 point favorite. The over under here is 45.5. Matt Merrifield, we'll go to you first. Bryce Underwood is the second coming of Christ. As you told me, he is better than Jared Goff, not better than Hendon Hooker, though. Your thoughts on Michigan this week and their very tough test at Oklahoma before they lose their head coach next week to a self-imposed suspension?
I just want to say, I didn't say he was better than Jared Goff. Jamar from Westland said that on 97.1 on, what would have that been, Tuesday morning at like 7 a.m. Shout out Odyssey Rewind. If you'd like to go back and listen to that segment. It also included certain Michigan personalities trying to defend a targeting call that is the most textbook targeting, or then claiming that should have been targeting, but also the rule is stupid because it hurts Michigan in this situation, even though he only misses a half, not a full game. Anyways, I also had a Michigan grad that I golfed with this evening tell me that Bryce Underwood's the best quarterback he's ever seen play for Michigan after one game. After one game. And I didn't ask him because I don't know if he's a super big football person, and he definitely wouldn't remember. Does anybody remember Joe Milton's debut against Minnesota in 2020? I'm not going to sit here and say that Bryce Underwood's Joe Milton, but I'm just saying we have seen before guys come out. Nico I last year against UT Martin and Chattanooga and NC State. I thought Nico I was the next Colts legend. I wanted him to be a future Colt so bad, and he stinks. You do not know how good Bryce Underwood is. Did he do anything wrong against Fresno or New Mexico? No. But he made a couple decent throws. He sailed a couple throws because he's so excited to be wearing the winged helmet. Not my words, 97.1's words. He looks fine. Like, we're going to find out. I know what John Mateer is. I think John Mateer is a really good quarterback. But Brent Venables has struggled to win the big game in the SEC with Oklahoma. So we'll see. This is a kind of a make or break game for both teams. Both teams are fringe playoff contenders. If you lose, your life becomes a whole lot harder. Michigan's is a little bit easier, but if Oklahoma loses, their shot at the playoff goes out the window with the way the conference is set up this year. So the Mike Merrifield's rule is you take the lower ranked team when they're favored at home. That applies here. It worked, I think, twice last week, at least once. I know it worked with Ohio State, obviously. 5.5 is a lot of points to lay, but I guess I have to follow it and lay Oklahoma. I don't love it. I think I would honestly 45.5. I think I'd lean under as well, but I do like Oklahoma, even though I don't think what is Oklahoma Stadium called? Norman, but what's the stadium's name? Memorial something that starts with a G.
It's Gaylor Family Memorial Stadium.
It's not. It's like the most unintimidating place. Like it's not intimidating. I don't know a single person that talks about going to a game at Oklahoma, even though Oklahoma you would think, has like an awesome environment. And I'm sure it's going to be rocking early season, but Tennessee went in there last year with Nico I and found a way to win. So I guess we'll find out what Oklahoma or what Michigan's capable of this weekend.
Jay Walsh, will go to you next. As Matt said, this kind of feels like it's an early make or break game for both these teams this season. Is that kind of how you're leaning towards with this one?
100%. Because, I mean, as Matt said, these are both teams that their ceiling is contending for a playoff spot. When that's your ceiling, that means you have absolutely no room for error. Both of these teams have hard games left on the schedule. So this realistically, if you want to contend for a playoff spot this year, if you want to get the chance to play for a national championship, you have to win this game. This truly is. I hate saying the term must-win game in week 2, but realistically, for what the goals of both of these two teams are, this is a must-win game. It's another one that you really don't know what these teams are yet. Obviously, Oklahoma just beat the shit out of Illinois State last week, but it's Illinois State. John Mateer looked very good, but again, is he going to be able to do it against a defense as talented as Michigan's? He's shown the ability, but it remains to be seen whether he can get that done consistently. Obviously, you have no idea what Bryce Underwood is going to look like in his first real test as a college quarterback, going on the road to a power conference school, a team that has equal talent. Because the thing that I always said about Bryce Underwood is there's no question about the talent that he possesses. He has unbelievable talent. And you could see it in that game against, or you could see it in that week 1 game for Michigan. I said to my brother-in-law after the game, there are certain guys where it just kind of looks different when it leaves their hand. He's one of them. Obviously, he needs to learn a little bit more touch. Not everything has to be 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but he clearly has unbelievable arm talent. But the thing that I always said about him coming out of high school is if you look at his high school highlight tape, pretty much every single one of those plays is just a, hey, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, so I can make this play over you type of play. And I mean, I'm not knocking him because of that, because hey, when you're built like he is, you're going to dominate high school players. But this is the first time he's going to go up against a defense that has guys that are equally that talented. I mean, Oklahoma is no slouch in terms of recruiting. They bring in big time players. This is his first real test as a quarterback. For that reason, and because he's traveling halfway across the country, I can't go with Michigan in this game. I have to take Oklahoma. Similar to Matt, I don't like the 5.5 line. I think this could easily be a field goal type game. But I will run with Oklahoma here. I also do like the under, but I really don't like it. If I had to pick one, I would go with the under, but 45.5 is a really dangerous number for this game.
As you said, Jay Walsh, this number just it's very scary. It's very dangerous. Don't love it. Jada Coster, I want to know, do you love this number, or are you as scared of it as it seems like everybody else is? Because I think this opened up at like 7.
Yeah, no, I'm scared of it too. I think I'm taking away, like, what Jay Walsh said about Underwood. And yeah, I think Underwood will be a pretty good quarterback. We don't know. He looked pretty solid, made some good throws against New Mexico, but you're going into Oklahoma and Brett Venables, who, we don't know if he's a good head coach yet. He's a very good defensive guru, and I think he'll be throwing a lot at Underwood, who is a true freshman in his second career game going into Oklahoma in an SEC environment at night. It's a lot to be desired, and that's asking a lot of your true freshman quarterback if you want to win this game, unless you're just going to rely on the run with Haynes and Marshall and that good O-line. But Oklahoma's a top 20 defense last year. I'm expecting them to still be a very good defensive unit. It's just a tall task for Michigan's offense to go in there and expect them to, put up a lot of points. So I think from that perspective, I would lean Oklahoma. Like I said, like you guys said, that number is, that's the devil's number, 5.5. I don't like it. So, but I would probably lean Oklahoma in the spot. I just think, they got, we'll see how Michigan's defense responds against Mateer and Ott, but I'd probably lean Oklahoma. They need, both these programs need a game like this, like you said, for CFP purposes, just because of their schedules the rest of the season. But I told you guys in the Week 0 podcast, I do like Oklahoma this year. I like the transfers they brought in. This is going to be a game that they need to have for their CFP purposes. So I will lean Oklahoma, and I also do like the under. Like I said, don't love that, but you got two really good defenses, and you got a true freshman starting for Michigan. So I do like the under as well.
I think the fact that this will be Bryce Underwood's first true game, you're going to see a lot of similarities to what Arch Manning did last week. It is again, Matt, you kind of said that Oklahoma is the most least intimidating place. It kind of seems. I still think, it can still give people trouble. And I think it's going to give Bryce Underwood a lot of trouble. I think it's a little bit more with his overthrows being more than just him being so excited to play in the winged helmet. I think that might just be adjustment issues to the college game. And I'm not going to say it's going to be like Joe Milton's second game of his starting career, but I could see it going that way. It could get really wild down in Norman. Night game in Norman does feel more immense than it would be for a day game. So the number isn't great. I'm still going to take it. Give me Oklahoma minus the 5.5. So with that, we, like I said, the board.
Before we move on, I do just want to say one more thing. if Michigan is going to win this game, I think it's going to be on the back of Bryce Underwood. And I do want to say, if he performs in this game, the expectations for Michigan this season go way, way up. Because if he performs in this game, that means he can play under pressure on the road against talented teams. I think their expectations go way, way up if they win this game. If they lose this game, I still think that they're projected right around that 7 to 8 win mark. If they win this game, I could see them getting close to double digit, or I would say double digit wins is very well a possibility for them this year.
And I will agree with you, Jay Walsh. If Michigan does win this game, it's going to be on the back of Bryce Underwood. And with that being said, ballots can officially be closed for the September Heisman if they win this game, because Bryce Underwood will have it locked up. You will be hearing about how he is the greatest quarterback to walk the earth since Jesus Christ himself. He's going to be just so phenomenal. He's going to have that September Heisman locked up if they win this game. But we still got our picks to make here. Jay Walsh, I believe you had the best week out of all of us. So I will give you the honors. I honestly didn't fact check that. I'm just guessing here. I know I am the worst out of the four. So yeah.
All right. So, yes, I did have a fairly good week last week. It would have been better if, a certain coach down in Chapel Hill didn't absolutely shit his pants against TCU. But, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to move on to this week. And we got some decent picks here. My first pick that I'm going to go with, and it is my lock of the week, I am taking Illinois Duke over 49.5. Both of these teams are very talented on offense. Obviously, Darian Mensah looked very good in his first game at Duke last week. And then Illinois just has a ton of returning production. A lot of people are taking them as potentially a dark horse pick in the Big Ten this year, not necessarily to win, but potentially to make a playoff run. I think this game could very easily be like a mid-30s type of game for each team. So I think over 49.5 here is definitely the play. I'm going to move on to I'm taking Missouri minus 6.5 against Kansas at home. I like Missouri. I had them as one of my kind of sleeper teams in the SEC. I think they're a decent team this year. I don't really know a ton about Kansas, but I just don't think that they're that talented, to be honest. And again, this game is at Missouri, so I'm going to lean Missouri here. I'm going to ride the wave from last week on two different fronts. I'm going to go with first Fresno State plus 3.5 at Oregon State. Fresno State, again, I'm kind of riding with my boy Donaldson. It's absolutely electric in the backfield. I like Fresno State here. The 3.5 number does scare me a little bit. But no, because you're telling me they can lose by field goal and still cover. I feel good. And then the second leg that I'm running back from last week is I'm going with Tulane again. Tulane minus 10.5 at South Alabama. Like I said, I really believe in Tulane this year. I think they're a very talented team. I still think that they are going to be at the very least competitive for that group of 5 spot, if not the runaway for it. So I think they win this game. And my fifth and final pick, and I prefaced this before the show. Matt, I don't know if you were there in time. I think you might have just caught the end of what I was saying. But I prefaced this by saying I absolutely hate this pick. I cannot stand the fact that I am taking this. I want this to be on the record of saying this is how bad this week's schedule is. I am going to the battle for the Cyhawk Trophy, Iowa State. I am taking over 41.5 in this game with Iowa and Iowa State. I hate that I'm doing it, but I think there's a very realistic chance that the over can hit here. I know taking the over in Iowa games, period, is just throwing money away, and much less if you throw Iowa State into it. This rivalry is always just chaotic. But I think there's a very realistic chance we could see this game kind of in the mid-20s for both of these teams. I think both of these teams got better in this offseason. So I think over 41.5 is in play here.
All right, Matt, we'll go to you next. What are your picks for the week?
I think this slate is, you have to tread carefully this week would be my advice to all of the listeners out there. Because I think the slate isn't that bad as Jay Walsh wants to make it seem. It's not worthy of taking an over in an Iowa game. I think, if you want to give away $5, Jay Walsh, I can send you my Venmo. But hey, I appreciate the moxie. But like that game, 3-point spread, as soon as it opened, I put Iowa State on my card. They have been erased. I'm glad I didn't write it in ink because that spread should not be that low. And Nick, I shared this with you yesterday. Jay Walsh or Jay, do you guys know the last time Iowa State won by more than 3 in this rivalry?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I don't, and it's probably at least 15 years ago, if not more.
2005.
Yeah.
2005.
No, Iowa State's only won like 6 times and then they've played every year since then. But yes, 2005. Since they would have covered a 3-point spread or a 3.5-point spread. So I just can't justify taking Iowa State. Same thing with that Duke Illinois spread. I want no part of it. I like Duke if I were to take one, but I don't like it enough to take it because I don't know how good Darian Menzo really is. And Manny Diaz is Manny Diaz. Anyways, back to my card for the week. 6 picks. Nick, technically I had the best week because I went 4-2. Jay Walsh went 3-2, but Jay Walsh had a good week. So, I mean, you technically only finished last because Jay took 4 games, even though the Army pick should count for 5 games, in my opinion. But anyways, I also think Baylor is a bounce back spot at +3. I don't have the nuts to take it. I don't think SMU is that good, but I just want to say Baylor trap house, even though they're going on the road. But
before you get into your picks, I do think that I should just get extra credit for breaking the Jay Walsh lock of the week curse. So
there you go.
I think I do deserve a little credit for that, but you did have a 4-2 week. So
Jay Walsh, what was your lock of the week this week? Anyways,
this week,
yes,
I made it Illinois Duke over.
Got it. Okay, I may have missed it. Anyways, my first pick. Skipping the noon slate, we're going straight into 3:30. UAB is heading to Annapolis to take on Navy. This Armed Service Academy is good, and UAB had to come back against Alabama State. Give me Navy minus 21.5 points. Zach Horvath, Heisman contender. That's a real Armed Service Academy. They get it done against the Blazers. Also at 3:30, this one, I liked it, but after the comments made by the coaches in the press conferences this week, Oregon's going to win by 40 against Oklahoma State. They're going to put up a point for every single $1 million they spend more on their football team than Oklahoma State. Dan Lanning knows no boundaries. Can he win a big game? Remains to be seen, but this isn't a big game because Oklahoma State sucks. So yeah, give me the Oregon Ducks minus 28.5 at home. I like UTSA. They take on Texas State in the battle for I-35. I like the Road Runners on the road. 4.5 points scares me a little bit.
Whoa, Matt, they're not on the road.
They're in the
Dome. Oh my God, it is at the Dome. Yeah, see, 4.5. I completely misread the game. Yes, Texas State heading into the Dome, Final Four destination. UTSA covered the number against A&M on the road last week. They look good. They kept getting a bunch of shutouts on Monday night against UNC because Barnes ran straight through the UNC defense the entire night. And the only fact Reese Davis had on him was that he was all freshman team in the CUSA in 2022 or 2021. That's the only thing they had to say about him. Literally every time he touched the football, they brought it up. I was like, guys, something else. I'm begging. Anyways, give me UTSA. Rivalry game minus 4.5. They get it done. I'm picking this team simply because the team they're playing, helped me out last week. I'm taking Memphis minus 13.5. They head down to Georgia into Turner Field to take on, or Old Turner Field, I don't know if it's still called anymore. Memphis going to cover 2 touchdowns against the Georgia State Panthers. Georgia State stinks. They were terrible against Ole Miss last week. It was varsity versus Pee Wee football. Memphis reloaded in the portal over the offseason. They look good in their first week 1 game. Georgia Southern, Hugh Jackson stinks. 13.5 doesn't seem like it should be enough. Moving into my lock of the week out in the West Coast, USC minus 27.5 against Georgia Southern. Jay Walsh, great pick by you in that game against Fresno State. So Georgia Southern flew to Fresno. They flew back to Georgia, and now they fly all the way back to USC to play in the Coliseum. I don't know who scheduled that, but that athletic director or associate athletic director, deputy director, doesn't matter. They need to be fired, because who let that happen? That's way too much travel for a bad football team. USC looked great. That's what Lincoln Riley does. He's basically an SEC coach when it comes to playing bad football teams. Give me USC minus 27.5. And the final pick, Nick, I'm going to do it. I should have done it 2 weeks ago in week 0. We're going out to the island. Hawaii minus 6.5 against Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State is not good. They played in week 0 too. They're tired. They had to travel out to play Western Kentucky in week 0. Got beat, didn't cover the number. Came back home, got beat by UNLV at home last Friday. Now they got to fly all the way out across the ocean to play on the island. Hawaii on the island, love it, need it. Sam Houston State, they're battered. They need this bye week next week more than anything. Give me the Rainbow Warriors. Alejandro, whatever his name is, he's got to be healthy. 6.5. Give me the Rainbow Warriors. That's my final pick. Those are my 6 picks for the week. Love it. Lock it in. I love them all. But USC minus 27 is the lock.
So, Matt, I take it you're not worried about the Clay Helton revenge game?
Clay Helton's coaching for Sam Houston State. Or
No,
he's coaching
he's
for Georgia.
Georgia Southern.
He could hire Ed O as his offensive coordinator, and Lane Kiffin. Didn't Lane Kiffin coach at USC?
He did. He got fired on the tarmac.
Did Sark coach at USC, or am I thinking of somebody else? Or am I just
he
thinking
also coached at USC.
Where's Pete Carroll when you need him?
He's in Vegas.
I know. With Geno Smith. More on them later.
For some godforsaken reason.
But on that, I don't 28.5 doesn't feel like enough in that game, truly. Like, there's a lot of trap lines, and I'm not going to call that a trap line, but like USC might be up by 28 at halftime. Who's up next?
Jay, you're up next. Let's go.
Let me just do a quick throwback to when Jay Walsh did his last year. He point to the sky. Let's have a good week. All right. We're going to start off. Jay Walsh kind of read my mind on this one. I do also like Tulane minus 10.5 at South Alabama. Tulane, I mean, they got Retzlaff at quarterback. I mean, they're going to be a contender for the for that group of 5 CFP position, especially with especially after Boise State got destroyed at USF. So they're going to be in contention. Yes, Jay Walsh, even though he's a douche. I will say that since you said it last week. Vanderbilt at Virginia Tech. All right, Virginia Tech is not very good. Collins Jones looked horrendous against South Carolina. He just cannot throw. I'm pretty high on Vandy this year. I think they can, not make noise in the SEC, but they can put up a fight against some teams. So I like Vanderbilt in this spot with Diego Pavia and Stowers, who I think is one of the best tight ends in the country. So I like Vanderbilt in this spot plus the 1.5. Arizona State at Mississippi State. This is a night game, so it's not going to be as hot. I know it gets very humid down there. I like Arizona State minus 6.5. I still like their squad from last year, even though they lost Scadaboo. And Mississippi State's just not a very good football team. So I do like Arizona State in this spot. Feels a tad trappy, but I do like them to cover that 6.5 point spread. And then also USC, I do like USC minus 20.5. They put up 70 on Missouri State. I know they're transitioning over to the power or to the to Division I, but that Georgia Southern's also pretty awful. So I do like USC to cover that 28.5. Their offense, they could be in for a good year offensively. I mean, Lincoln Riley always likes to run up the points. So I do like a team that's traveling across the country to cover the 28.5. And then my lock, I like Ole Miss at Kentucky. I like Ole Miss minus 10 here. Kentucky is not very good. Ole Miss is, there's a lot of question marks about them this season, but Kentucky is just not a very good team. So I do like Ole Miss in this spot. They looked really good last week. So I think Ole Miss, they're getting the revenge after getting smoked last year at home against Kentucky. So I do like Ole Miss to get a little revenge and cover at Kentucky minus the 10 because Kentucky is god-awful and Mark Stoops is on the hot seat. So those are my 5 picks. We're just going to go week by week, and we'll see what happens. So hopefully a lot better.
All right. I guess that just leaves me to make the picks here. We're going to try to get out of the basement this week. And what better way to do that than going in inverse order of when these games are kicking off? We're going to leave the earliest kickoff for last because that is going to be the lock. Pretty sure everybody knows what's coming, but we'll just leave it. I'm taking Hawaii.
Before we get into it, does it have to do with a certain coach that does not shower?
I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. I'm taking Hawaii. Give me the island minus 6.5. I kind of love that number. Sam Houston State is quite awful. Hawaii showed glimmers of hope at points last week, even though they got smoked by Arizona. We'll figure it out. Give me UNLV at home plus 2.5 against UCLA. UNLV might not be good. UCLA might be worse. I like that UNLV's at home. I don't know if that's going to matter because there'll be about 15 people in Allegiant Stadium, just like it would be at the Rose Bowl. But because I'm sure the Backstreet Boys are doing a show at the Sphere because they've just taken over there. Give me UNLV. Don't know why. Give them to me. Give me Oklahoma minus 5.5. I don't think Michigan's going to win this game at all, and I think Oklahoma kind of runs away with it late. Give me the Sooners, Boomers Sooner. And if you remember earlier in the show, I said only idiots double down. Give me Army plus 17.5. Give me the troops. Kansas State does not seem to be good. They struggled with North Dakota, the Fighting Hawks, not the Fighting Sioux. Just always remember that. Kansas State might be very bad. Give me the troops. I think they can cover the 17.5. Those are famous last words, of course. It may all go downhill from there. And here we go. Last pick. I don't even need to say anything. In tribute to the late, great Lee Corso. Give me my head. UConn Huskies, money line. Money line. Give it to me. That's the lock of the week. Going into the Dome, what a week they had last week against Central Connecticut State. Joe Fangio, what a great game. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I think he threw for almost 300 yards. Skylar Bell, the guy that Michigan tried to pull away but didn't offer enough money. Yes, UConn outpaid Michigan for a player. 4 receptions, 135 yards for 2 touchdowns last week. Huskies, money line. Give it to me. That's all I got.
Okay. Before we end this or talk NFL, I think Nick just killed Lee Corso. You killed Lee Corso. You said the late, great Lee Corso.
Well, he's dead to me because he's not on TV anymore.
I just had to throw that out there. He's
Nick,
dead now.
did you wish Lee Corso good luck in his next chapter of life?
I did not. I did not wish.
Was that Mark Jones that did that on Thursday?
That was, yes.
Like, guys, he's 90 years old. What next chapter is there? He can't golf. I'm just saying. I hope he does golf, but I don't know.
The dude can barely walk. Let's be real.
That's my thing. Like, what is the next chapter? And then I'm happy he got the send off he did. I just don't know. I don't know. It seems like poor taste.
He went out on top. He owned everyone in this committee by picking Florida State straight up. He owned every member of this committee by taking Florida State in that game over Alabama.
This is true. Wow. What a rush. UConn money line. All I got to say. I think the spread's like 5 or 6.5. You can take that if you want. I don't care. Give me the money line. I love it. UConn, sneaky playoff team this year. Go look at the schedule. Sneaky. The only power teams they have after this are Boston College and Duke. Sneaky playoff team.
Duke's going to put up about 55 points in that game. I hope you know that.
They will not. I guarantee it. If they do put up 55, UConn's putting up 56. Guaranteed. UConn. Sneaky playoff team. Can't wait. NFL. It starts as we record this tomorrow. A mess of a slate for the weekend. You got games Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. I figured we'd just go around, kind of just give our Super Bowl pick. So team from each set or each conference, and then your winner, and then anything else you really want to say about the NFL this season. Jay Walsh, I'll start with you.
Well, obviously, being the only person in this chat who is a fan of an actual Super Bowl contending team, you may all call me a homer for this, but I have to take the Lions out of the NFC. This is a team that has one of the most talented offenses in football. Their defense last year was just absolutely ravaged by injuries. Obviously, losing Aiden Hutchinson early in the season was just a killer. And then they had like they were picking guys up off the street to play on the defensive line at the end of last season. Realistically, I pray to God they can't go through as many injuries as they did last year. And if they don't, I think their defense could be very sneaky good this year. They have obviously Aiden Hutchinson, who, if he returns to even 3/4 of what his production was last year before his injury, he's going to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. They got a big time addition in the secondary this year, DJ Reed, very good cornerback. I think they're going to see better play from Terry and Arnold this year. They're deep there. Amik Robertson is still a dog there. They have a very good linebacker room. Jack Campbell is very good. I just think that the Lions are on a mission this year. Obviously, the schedule is very tough, but I think there's still a path to 12, 13 wins for them. And once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. But I think this is the year that they can get it done. So I'll take the Lions out of the NFC. I think this is also the year for I want to say this is the year for the Buffalo Bills. I really do. But at the same time, I feel like it could be the Ravens out of the AFC. It's really hard to pick between the two of them. Obviously, you still have the Chiefs, who, they have their black magic, and they'll probably still get to the Super Bowl somehow. But I think the Bills and the Ravens are the two best teams in the AFC. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go with the Ravens, just because I think overall their team is more talented. And in the Super Bowl, I would go with the Lions. One pride. Let's go, baby. This is the year. Dan Campbell getting that Lombardi. Jared Goff cementing himself as a top 10 quarterback in football. Let's get it.
Jared Goff isn't even better than Bryce Underwood, according to some people in Westland. So does it really matter?
Well, we should also still replace him with Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker should obviously be starting in Detroit, even though he's no longer on the team.
That's what Jamar from Westland was saying.
Oh, the amount of people that call into 97.1 regularly talking about how Hendon Hooker should be the starter is honestly just mind-numbing with how bad Hendon Hooker plays every time he sees the field.
Jay Walls, just wait until Goff throws 2 picks on Sunday and people are calling for Kyle Allen. You're not ready for it.
They're going to be calling for CJ Beathard.
Okay, let's calm it.
Which, by the way, speaking of Sunday, I do just want to say, I don't know what the spread is in the game. I haven't looked, but
You're getting
Lions, the Lions are getting 2.5 against the Packers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's free money right there.
Correct.
I don't know why everyone is in love with the Packers. I am not. Jordan Love has talent, but he also has proven to be an absolute idiot sometimes. I'm going with the Lions. So, also, the freest money of opening weekend is still Eagles. I believe last I checked, it was -7.5 against the Cowboys. They're going to win that game by 3 touchdowns. So that's absolute free money. So do with that what you will.
Of all the NFL bets this weekend, that is not the one I would pick. But anyways.
Jay, we'll go to you next.
I don't even know what to say after that. Yeah, I got the Bills coming out of the AFC. I think it's their year. They've been to like 2 AFC championships. You know, they could argue they should have won last year. I mean, they can't get past Mahomes. So I think it's the year they do it. The Chiefs are very vulnerable. You know, they had a lot of games where, you know, they've a lot of 50-50 games where they ended up winning, I think. And obviously the Eagles exposed them in the Super Bowl. I think the Bills are destined to do it in the AFC. So give me the Bills out of the AFC. And the NFC is just such a wild card. I mean, I could go Green Bay or Detroit. I probably lean Detroit. Green Bay adding Micah Parsons, I think obviously it's massive. They went 11-6 and added up, you know, future Hall of Famer. But Jordan Love, like Jay Walsh said, can he cut the turnovers? Can they win the big game? I just, you know, I haven't seen it. So I think Detroit's more proven. Obviously losing to Washington was really hurt, but you know, losing Ben Johnson hurts, but still they got all the pieces in place. They got Aiden Hutchinson back. So I mean, I think their defense will be fine, and you know, I think the Lions come out of the NFC, and I'll take the Bills over the Lions in the Super Bowl. So I like Josh Allen to get his first ring. So yeah, give me the Bills.
Matt, we'll go to you next. Your thoughts here for the NFL season, and you're, of course, Indianapolis Colts with Danny Dimes.
In terms of the Colts, I would say draft Michael Pittman in your fantasy league because Daniel Jones loves his route running reception receiver, you know, slants, checkdowns. Tyler Warren might also be that option. I'm not quite sure, but one of the two will have to be viable in fantasy this year. In terms of the Colts overall, they're going to go 8-9 again. That's where we're at. I don't know. As long as Anthony Richardson doesn't continue to play, that's all that matters. In terms of who's going to be in the Super Bowl, I think it'll be a team out of the NFC North. Unfortunately, it's not the Detroit Lions. And I thought this before the trade. I really like the Green Bay Packers. I know people love to hate Jordan Love, especially in this town. I don't think he's that bad. I actually think he's a pretty talented quarterback. And when he's on his game, which is more often than not, considering the Packers are still a playoff level team, even last year, he's better than your quarterback in Jared Goff. Jordan Love's a better quarterback than Jared Goff. But I don't love anybody in the NFC this year. I think the Commanders are going to regress. The Eagles, I think, are, you know, I think Saquon's a ticking time bomb with the number of touches he had last year. The NFC West is a crapshoot of, I mean, I think all those teams are good, but who's going to be good enough to come out of it? And the NFC South, I like the Buccaneers, but are they good enough to come out of it? The Falcons are good. I think the Panthers are going to be even better this year with Bryce Young. So I'm going Packers. Matt LaFleur is the only thing holding them back. And I think he finally, with Micah Parsons, might get his head out of his ass. AFC side, it has to be the Bills. I don't think it's Baltimore's year. It was Baltimore's year like 4 years ago. They're still around because that division can't seem to get out of its own way. The Bengals are the Bengals. The Browns are terrible. Sorry, Nick. And the Steelers are content being a 9-8 football team every year. I would argue that the Denver Broncos have a better shot at a Super Bowl. Truly, I think they have a more likely to get over the hump this year than I would say Baltimore. I don't think either will. I think it's either the Chiefs or the Bills yet again. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. So I'm going Bills, Packers, and I love Josh Allen. So give me the Bills, but I don't. It's probably not their year. It's probably Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift's final season for Travis Kelce before he marries her and rides off into the blank space, cruel summer sunset. Who knows? I don't know. Just throwing songs out there now. I'm gonna go Bills, but the black magic still looms.
All right. Cleveland Browns will be awful this year. That's all I got to say. Who knows? The 4-quarterback system next year of Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, Lenora Sellers, and Arch Manning going to be outstanding in Cleveland. Can't wait for that to happen. Overall, NFC, I think it's going to be the Packers. I think they win the division. I think they go on a run. I think they make it to the Super Bowl. My biggest out there somewhat prediction, kind of, but not really. I don't think the Chiefs win the West. I still think they make it to the Super Bowl, though. The West will be owned by the greatest quarterback to come out of the University of Oregon and Auburn University, that is Bo Nix. I think Denver wins the division.
But is he a dark horse Heisman candidate this year?
He is, of course, dark horse Heisman. He's frisky. He's having fun. I would not be surprised if he is a dark horse for the Heisman this year. I think Denver wins the division, but I still think Kansas City makes the Super Bowl. I don't think they'll face each other in the playoffs, too. I think Denver will fall probably to somebody like Buffalo or Baltimore. And then Kansas City beats them in the AFC title game. And the Super Bowl, as an owner and wanting my shares to go up, the Packers should win the Super Bowl. That would be very good investment there. Even though my share has no monetary value whatsoever, I can say I'm a Super Bowl champion. So give me the Packers. I don't know. I want to be a Super Bowl champion, and I'm not going to get there as a player. So why not? We'll just roll with it. Jay, I will say, I think the Bears, I think they finished third in the division this year. I think Minnesota finishes in fourth. J.J. McCarthy is going to be awful.
Well, I think JJ is the biggest wild card. I mean, they got a great roster, but JJ is the biggest wild card. Some say he's a Service Academy quarterback. Some say he's the next coming of Christ. We'll have to see.
Who says that?
Okay, so for context, I listened to a show here. I listened to a show here in Chicago. He went to Michigan State. He calls JJ McCarthy a Service Academy quarterback. He's just a producer. It's just I get a great kick out of it. Anyways, from the Bears' perspective, I mean Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. These are the two guys that are gonna make the whole thing go. We'll see how it goes, but if Caleb could take that year 2 step, I mean that'd be fantastic. And they got a great receiving core. My biggest concern is the pass rush. They have Montez Sweat, who has been underachieving there in a big contract. So defense remains to be seen, but Ben Johnson is gonna, Caleb's the biggest question mark, but Ben Johnson's the guy that's gonna be able to help him out. And he was paid $13 million a year for a reason. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, I would agree, Nick. I think they can finish third in this division, probably 9 wins, possibly 10 if they're healthy and their defense is good. But Right now, I'm saying they're a 9-win team.
All right, Jay Walsh, I know you wanted to say something, so.
Yeah, my hot take about the NFC North, and I know, Nick, you're not going to like it, and I know Matt's going to disagree because apparently he's high on the Packers. I think there's a very real chance the Bears are the second best team in this division. I really like the steps that the Bears have taken this offseason. I think, obviously, I mean, the offense, I think Caleb Williams is going to have a nice year in his second season. They've got a great receiving core around him. They've got a solid running back room. I think DeAndre Swift is a talented running back. He's always struggled with injuries, but it's been a while since he's dealt with that, and they have good backups behind him. They really addressed the offensive line in the offseason. I think the offense overall is going to be very solid this year. The defense, obviously, is kind of a mystery. You've got big names, obviously, Jay, like you said. You got Montez Sweat on the defensive line. You've got maybe, in my opinion, the most underrated corner in football in Jalen Johnson. I think Jalen Johnson is a really good player. So I think Chicago has the talent to be the second best team. Like I said, I'm not very high on the Packers. Obviously, I think there's a very real possibility that they are the second best team, but it would not surprise me to see the Bears finish better than the Packers this year.
You know what, Jay Welsh? I'll agree with you. I think the Bears are the second best team in the North, with the Packers being the first. We'll just leave it at that. So, I mean, we've went just over an hour and 15 minutes, so we will wrap it up here for this episode of the Merrifield Sportsbook Show. Does anybody else have any parting thoughts before we leave here tonight?
Tigers' magic number is 13.
Good to know. That is outstanding information, Jay Walsh. Thank you very much. So that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the Merrifield Sportsbook Show. Thank you so much for watching. If you just stumbled across this, please, click like, click subscribe. We'll be back to you next week. So for Jay Walsh, for Jay DeCoster, for Matt Merrifield, I'm Nick Burt. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you again soon for another episode of the Merrifield Sportsbook Show.